Hi. I'm interviewing you today, and could you introduce yourself?
My name is Natasha. I'm a first year architecture major at Hampton University.
Okay, and what is your cultural background?
Oh, I'm Cameroonian.
Oh, okay. So were you actually born in Cameroon?
No, I'm a first generation American, so I'm the first one in my family that's born in
Oh,
America.
okay. That's really interesting. So can you say something about being Cameroonian American and anything about it in general?
I would say it's definitely kind of a different upbringing growing up. Like a lot of the stuff that people deem as, oh, these are, historical things that you need to know as like music or pop culture. I'm not aware of it because obviously my parents didn't have it like when raising me because they didn't know because my dad came here in 1999. My mom came here like 2001, 2002 with the rest of my family. So I would say it's definitely an adjustment, learning how to switch from like being at home and acting a certain way and then being at school because you need to make that code switch. It's like not the same.
Bicultural.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And do you think for example, like with your parents, did they have some difficulties adapting to American culture?
I'll say my parents, like for American culture, like for the English part where they grew up, it was French and English, so they didn't have really issue for the language part. But I would say it's more or less so American culture than just getting like established in America. Because like I said, my dad came here 1999, but he didn't come here with any of my family because he had to come here, get the money, learn how to kind of survive here before bringing my mom and my four other sisters here because he needed to support them. So he did spend like 2 years here alone, and my mom was in Cameroon working, and my four older sisters, they were like really young at the time. Like my older sister was about like 12, 13. So it was just more so, learning to adapt, learning how to do like stuff here because like for like education, they don't deem African education as as
equal.
good. So then, like my mom, when she came here, she had to redo our school. When she already had like a master's degree in Cameroon, she had to come back here and start everything from scratch, go back to like first year college. And she's still in school right now, just so she, to get her doctorate and stuff. So I feel like it's more or less a culture thing more than just like, learning how to survive the economy.
Right.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. My wife had to do that too because she's from Serbia, and she had a degree in physical therapy, and she could figure out what was wrong with a person, from that perspective. But then they didn't recognize her degree, so she had to start over from scratch. So I'm familiar with that. Did your dad feel kind of lonely when he was like alone here and?
I'm not sure if he felt lonely. My family kind of made the like my entire family, as in like relatives and stuff. They kind of like went to America slowly at a time. So he already had like his older cousin here and a couple other people, but they were still like maybe came there a year before that. So he did have some people to kind of for more people to be like, okay, like how do you do this? Like give him some advice. And he did start. I'm pretty sure it was hard. Like a thing like we were talking about in class, like when like men don't really express what they're feeling. So I don't know I don't know if he felt sad or what he felt, but I'm pretty sure it was hard just being here without your family and just starting from scratch when you already were like a construction engineer in Cameroon. It's kind of just like I'm pretty sure it was. I feel like it would be hard for anybody leaving your family, being here alone in a new environment, not really knowing what's going to come.
Definitely, yeah. And do you feel, but he had the support of the Cameroonian American community here, or people?
Well, it was a little bit.
Somewhat. Okay, that probably helped. What made him decide to immigrate to the United States?
In Cameroon, there is a lot of people say Cameroon is like a poor country. There is some places that are richer that have. It's not like slums or anything. There is some places that have like more money and richer in Cameroon or even all in Africa, but that's not the majority. The majority of Cameroon, like if you live in the village, it is like really really hard out there. And even if my parents had good jobs, but they still like the economy itself isn't good. Like there's so many other things going on. Like it's not like here where you get a job, you get like every day something. Like no, they do like really crazy stuff there. So having 4 kids to support, and then being there, and then them realizing like America's there, like we need to make the sacrifices to give our kids a better life. So I feel like that's what really drive them to come here, because like they saw, like they grew up there, they turned out fine, and they still go back there like all the time, but living there, it just became like a different thing. Yeah,
that's interesting. So it's probably it was probably more difficult there than here.
Definitely, 100%.
Okay, that's interesting. And how did your mom adapt to being here and your well, let's just start with your mom, and then we can talk about your siblings as well. So, yeah.
I mean, I wasn't born, so I'm only saying like what I know. I feel like just even like before coming here, just like being by herself for the first time with 4 kids, it was really hard. Like my sisters would tell me like after my dad left, like the one before me, she was still like a baby, so she would just cry all the time. Like she wouldn't speak to anybody for a week after my dad left, because like everybody's really close to her. So it was just really hard for my mom, and then her having to leave her kids and going to work, and then she would leave them with like my aunt and stuff, and they wouldn't be the best to them. So it would just kind of be hard in that way, just leaving her kids. And then when coming here, obviously like my dad, he already had like an apartment and like schools for all my siblings, like, and he already like found my mom like a school to go to for college and stuff. So he kind of had everything set up, so it wouldn't be that hard. But it was still hard, because it was my mom, my dad, and 4 of the kids. We were living in an apartment. So I don't know how big the apartment is, but it wasn't in the best area, obviously, because we only had so much money and stuff.
Oh, okay. Where were you located? I mean, where were they located?
It was still in Maryland, where I live now, but
okay.
It wasn't just. I don't know the exact name,
okay.
But I feel like they still had a great, better off than a lot of people coming here. So I feel like even though they struggled, I feel like they just did with what they have, and now like it really worked out, because a couple years after, I think in like 2007, we got the house I live in now. That's a big house, and we still live there. So it definitely.
So you kind of like achieved part of the American dream. It sounds like your parents did to some extent, and
sure.
To some extent,
yes.
Okay, and so do you feel like also like I think it's interesting, because like when my wife came here, like 9/11 just happened right after she arrived. So then like I even noticed at that time like with the immigration officers got a little more hostile at that point. Did your parents or any of your family members have to deal with any of that, or were they able to deal with those kind of issues?
I'm not sure like if my parents specifically had to do with it, but I know some relatives, like it's really hard coming here before and even now, because of like green cards and visas and stuff, and it's just so hard to get confirmed for those. So I feel like that is something that got worse after 9/11. That just keeps on getting worse, because it didn't,
because of the politics. Yeah, and do you feel like okay, so what do you feel like as a first generation, like in terms of what are some of the differences between like yourself and your parents, like in terms of do you ever have any like I don't know, disagreements or different points of view, because you grew up here and so you have certain views, and then they grew up of course in Cameroon. So.
I would definitely say I feel like I'm a first generation and I am Generation Z, so that's already like 2 things put on top of each other. I'll definitely say growing up in America did make me and more of my siblings more open-minded to a lot of things. So I feel like in Cameroon and all of Africa, there's a really strict, you do this, you do that, and there's some things that they accept over there, like polygamy, that can never be accepted here. So it's just kind of like that difference, like just, the stereotypical like, oh, you can't have piercings, you can't have locks, so that means this and that means that, or they don't support like the LGBT community because they didn't grow up there with that. They just found that as like a crazy thing, especially I feel like it is like a cultural difference and just like an age difference. Because my dad was born 1957, my mom was born 1961, so I feel like it's both of those put up on top of each other. I feel like it's just more so those things, but for like stuff like what they deem as like good education or like what like moral stuff, I feel like we're on the same page with that. But it's just like more so, I feel like it's just more so what everybody has to do with having, you know, older parents and being a younger generation.
Right. And do you feel like then Cameroonian culture is a little more traditional than the
Definitely,
yeah
100%.
Oh, okay. And can you describe some of that, or can you describe anything for, like, let's say for somebody who knows nothing about Cameroon, right? Could you describe it?
I would say Cameroon definitely has more of like a strict culture with like how like the kids need to address their parents. Because I remember my first time hearing somebody call their parent by the first name, I was shocked because I was like, we cannot do that here. Like, that's so disrespectful. I know a lot of people in Cameroon, like when you greet somebody older than you can't look them in the eye because that's disrespectful, just stuff like that. And just more so like, especially like education, a lot of places in Cameroon, teachers are allowed to beat the kids because that they accept that, because that's just like enforcing stuff on the kids. It's just more so strict in that way. Like, there's a lot of stuff that like I would say now that they would like deem as disrespectful, but I'm just like, no, I'm just speaking.
So do you think that's almost kind of like America was like, I mean, that's kind of a stereotype to some extent, but I think as being part of the older generation myself, like maybe that was like America was when I was growing up, where it was, you know, the teachers could get away with, you know, or not even get away with, it was just accepted, you know, like, do you feel like, so how about younger people there? Like, how are younger people there? Are they more open-minded, or do you?
I would say no, because they are just still growing up in Cameroon. Like, if they have never come to America, they're learning off their parents, they're learning off people older than them. And I would say just the way they act, like I said, it's really like a struggle in Cameroon and all of Africa in general. So they mature a lot faster because they don't even have the luxury of, you know, just being a kid and stuff. My sister recently went to Sierra Leone, and she was just telling me stories that she was like, she almost cried because she saw just like little kids, you know, they have like street markets on the street, little like 4-year-old kids selling stuff on the head, like, hey, this is $2, $1, because that's like little for like little like this, like you're like, and they were like,
I've seen that in China as well when I was there.
Yeah, because that's just what they have to do, because they need to support their family in the way, and they're like willing to do that. She like, her and her husband, they built a house there, so they've been setting stuff there. So when they came there, they were pretty comfortable. They had like a bunch of toys that they sent there, because they have 2 little boys, one 9 and one 5 years old. And so they had the toys in the backyard, and you know, all the kids around the neighborhood were just looking when to play with the toys, and obviously my sister and her husband let them in, because like, if they have stuff, why not share it with the other kids? And those other kids, like, they've never had the luxury to play with toys before. And even like, and like, even like the like clothes they sent there, and some of the clothes they didn't want. Like, a little girl was like, hey, I need these shoes from my little brother. He doesn't have shoes. I need these pants. He doesn't have pants. So it's just like really sad how like when you go there, you see like they don't really have the luxury of, you know, just being a kid, because it's just so hard over there, and they don't have like the like basic necessities that a lot of us have.
Exactly. And so do you feel like, I mean, also in American culture, it's like, I don't know how to explain it, but like, even though there are lots of inequalities in American culture, but we also have some things or more opportunities, I think, than in some other places.
I would say for opportunity-wise, America is definitely better just for, you know, comfortability and opportunity-wise. It's definitely easier to get here than I say in Africa. But I would say culture-wise, I feel like I love the African culture. Despite everything, I still love the African culture.
Right. And are there things that you don't like about American culture? I mean, we've also talked about a lot of criticism of American culture in our own class, but are there things that you don't like about American culture?
American culture, I would say just the basics, racism, discrimination stuff, which I feel like is a part of our culture because America did start that. I feel like just like this the stigma of just, having to get like all these degrees and all these stuff but not really, retaining the information. I feel like that is like something Americans just like instill on people, like, oh, to be successful you need to get this degree and that, but a lot of people, they go through all the school and have degrees but they still end up not having a job, not having this and not having that, just because of this, how the American
it's so
system
competitive
is.
and cutthroat.
Yeah, but culture wise, I would say like culture I don't know if America really has a certain culture because I feel like it's just put up of all these different culture. I would say like if you go like specific wise like Black Southern culture, yeah, that is a thing. But like American culture as a whole, I don't really know if there is.
I agree with you. Yeah, I've been thinking about that as well. I guess the part of the culture is the fact that you can kind of make up things as you go along because there's just kind of this extreme capitalism to some extent, right? And so you have these opportunities with capitalism and the way it is, but that you might not have in other countries sometimes. But then, as you said, like it's a question mark really whether there is a culture per se. How often do you travel back to Cameroon?
Okay, me personally, I have not been to Cameroon.
Oh, you haven't been?
Yes, my parents go like every other year. They go really often, but I don't know what I haven't. Maybe because like all the times I went, I had school or something else. But also a lot of times they go. It is for funerals, so it's not really like let's go to vacation. It's more like somebody died, somebody died. I have to go back. And recently I was gonna go, but that was like then COVID came, and then and then after that my dad's mom died, so he wanted me to come with them, but I was like also like I was gonna be alone with only him. It was a small funeral. I knew I wouldn't be with him all the time, and I was kind of scared because I was like, I don't know my relatives there. I know they're stricter. I'm not used to that, and I feel like as a kid, like when like adults kind of restrict me, I'm really sensitive about that. And then I was like about like 14, 15 at the time, so I was like, I don't know. So I have not had the opportunity to go, but I'm hoping to go with the rest of my siblings soon because we all have never been back since.
Okay, and so your siblings, they did grow up there, is that correct? Or some of them did, or?
I said grow up, like my oldest sister, she was about like 13, 14 when we came here, so she did a lot of growing up there, but like we're all 5 years apart except two of them, so like my second and third older sister, they were pretty young. They still grew up, they had memories, but they were like about 8 or 9. And then my sister before me, she came here and she was like 2, 3, so she has really like no memories.
No memories of that. Yeah. So the one that is your set of sister that is 13?
The oldest one, yeah.
Yeah, and how did she deal with the cultural change? Because like I think probably going from like middle school or freshman year in high school or something to the United States, that could be a big cultural change. Do you know anything about that? It was a long time ago, but
I'm not really sure if she did go through more of a cultural change and more like wow, America's like so cool, like you have all this stuff. Like it was just more like a shock because I've seen like my other cousins like recently come here and be like, oh my gosh, you guys have all this stuff, like we can never have this in Cameroon. I'll just say it was more difficult. Just probably like school-wise, because just kids are rude, and kids have this stigma of Africa, and they're like, oh, you're from Africa, you stink, you do this, you do that, and it's just like not the reality. So it was just more kind of like a bullying thing that like me and all my siblings went through.
Oh, right.
That it was just kids. But I would say cultural-wise, I would say especially because she was younger, it's easier to adapt to things like that. So
that's true. So do you feel like, so what do you think about your African identity as like dealing with it and negotiating with your African roots and then like American perceptions of it, or do you feel like sometimes like I don't really want to talk about it because like there's stereotypes, or how do you feel about it? So I was just interested in that.
When I was younger, I definitely was more like, I don't want to talk about being African because there was just a lot of like kids just having stereotypes about bullying, because obviously it was like elementary school, middle school, like we were very ignorant. But I would say, other than that, I feel like I'm really lucky because my parents, they always like enforce like the African culture on me and my siblings. So even though I was not born there, I know about Africa, like I know the culture, I know what tribe I'm in and everything. So I feel like I was just really lucky, and plus like all my family around that are Cameroonians that are urban to me, like whenever we had parties, I feel like it's just like it's African culture all around us. Like everywhere I go, like cousins, aunties, uncles, like it is African culture. So I feel like I'm really lucky in that sense. And then I feel like the only thing that I'll say I'm not lucky in is, other than family, I feel like I've never really like had the opportunities to be with other Cameroonians that aren't really related to me, or family or family friends. Like at school, I've never like ran into like a Cameroonian except like 1 or 2 times. So I never really had that like, you know, exchange with someone that was like, oh yeah, I'm first generation Cameroonian. Oh yeah, me too.
Right.
I would say that's the only thing. So just having to grow up with like American friends or Black American friends, there are some things that I just like I have to explain to them, because I was just like, my parents didn't do that because they're not American, and like I'm not this like, just say like some like movies like Boys in the Hood. Oh, you never seen that? Yeah, no, I don't know what that is. Some songs. Oh, you never heard that? No, I don't know what that is.
Right.
And just you know, just cultural things that they do like at the house and stuff that like I'm not used to. So when they come, but it is just like a cool thing just going there and learning how they work, and then like me inviting them to my house when we have like functions or parties and stuff, and them getting to try the food, and me getting like introduced to culture and everything.
Oh, that's cool. And how about the food? Do you, because like at home, did you eat more like African Cameroonian food?
Every day.
Yeah, so is it really delicious?
It is. It's really good. So it was really hard for me coming here. It was really just like a shock to me coming here and just having to eat, you know, Americanized food or just even college food in general, because obviously I ate school food, but I always had to come home and just like ask my mom, oh hey, can you cook this, can you cook that, and she'd be like, yeah, she'll cook it. So it's been really hard for me just like being here. So whenever my sister that doesn't live too far away, she's in medical school at EVMS, so whenever she makes like Cameroonian food, she was like, do you want something? Like, yes please.
Is it spicy sometimes or not spicy?
It depends on the person. Like me and my family, we really like spice, so it's always going to be spicy for us. But like my uncle, he grew up in Cameroon, came here about a little bit after my dad. He cannot handle spicy food. So it's just like so it just depends on the person. But I feel like in general, there are some foods that are just like spicy. Like the dish is just like a spicy dish. So.
Okay, interesting. And okay, so do you feel like if you had children, like, would you try to pass on the Cameroonian heritage to your children?
No, definitely. I feel like it's definitely important to just know where you came from and just know your roots, because I feel like I grew up in a Cameroonian household and it was great, and I want to, you know, pass that down to my kids so they can just know where they came from, where their roots is. If they ever go visit Cameroon, they can like see family and not be like in a shock, like at least know a little bit of French, know patois, just all that stuff.
Yeah, and do you feel like you so you do plan on going there someday?
Yes, definitely.
Yes. Because that way you could like reconnect with different people, not even just outside of your family.
Just you.
And so what kind of are there some political problems going on in Cameroon? Like I know in a lot of African countries there are. Yeah.
Yes, there is a lot of political problems going on in Cameroon. Like our president right now, Bobia, like in Cameroon we don't have every 4 years you elect a new president. You elect a president and he stays there. So he's been there for like, it's more like not even it's just a reign now. He's been there for like 40, like Putin, 40, 50 years.
Oh, geez.
And like I said, Cameroon has money, but he has not been distributing the money. So he leaves money for himself and his family, and they go to France all the time. They do this, they get the luxury things, but then everybody else is like suffering, so he's not like distributing the money right. And also there's kind of like a war going now between Anglophones and Francophones. That's basically the French speaking people and the English speaking people.
Oh.
I don't know all the details about that. Even if I knew it, I don't feel like I would really understand why you guys are fighting, even though it's the same place. So yes, there's been a lot of wars, there's been a lot of killing going on, and like
That's
it's
so
not
sad.
the same. It's not the same here. So there will be videos of people who just be like a pile with bodies, and people just like, yeah, it's really getting
It can be that bad.
It's getting that
wow.
bad. So yeah, that's been something that's been going on for a while. That's especially with Obia's reign. And the thing about like people say, oh, why don't you guys just fight for a new president? It's just like war there. If there is like, they're scared of war because we already don't have a lot. So
right.
And then war takes away like a lot of like resources and a lot of stuff. So if there is war, people will be suffering 10 times more than they're suffering now. So then I feel like they'll just prefer to like take this president than like having to fight for a new one.
Oh yeah.
So just like await his death.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that's a reality in a lot of places. Do you feel like then, also I noticed that when I was in France, like for example, there were, that was many years ago, it was before you were born, but like I used to go to like in Paris, like there was a place where like a lot of people would gather, and there's a lot of Africans gather, and then they were talking about life in France versus life in Africa. And the biggest thing that they were talking about, this is a long time ago, but was that in African society you respect your elders.
Yes.
And then there were like some of them were like, oh well, it's so much better in Paris, we can just do whatever we want, in a lot of ways we're free to do all these different things. But then some of them were criticizing life in Africa because there's so much, like you have to listen to the older generation. Is that true to some extent within African culture?
No, that's definitely still true. And like I was talking about before, just like the amount of strictness that there is with listening to your elders, and it is like crazy because it can be stuff that they say that's like outrageous, but you have to listen to them, and they can basically like they kind of can like abuse their power in a way.
They can, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's
definitely, and it's definitely something that my parents, they weren't, obviously just like the mutual respect thing that you naturally have for parents. Of course you have it, but they weren't like, my parents have never been disrespectful to me in a way where I feel like, oh, like I don't know, like that's never happened. So I feel like my parents have been really good on that. There's been some situations where like other like relatives would come to me, like my oldest sister, like I was talking about, the one that came when she was 13, she is 16 years older than me. So there is a point where they were like to me and my sister, like, oh, you have to call her name's Tatiana, you have to call her Auntie Tatiana. And then we were just so confused because they were like, what do you mean auntie? Like she's our sister. They were like, in Cameroon, when your sister is that much older than you have to call her like aunt.
Oh.
And like that's just kind of like, oh, but like that is true because like my mom, she's the oldest out of many siblings because my grandfather had multiple wives, and she's the oldest out. She's the first out of all of them, and they all call her mom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that is something
that's interesting. Yeah. So, do you feel like that tradition of respecting elders, there's a good side to it and a bad side to it?
Definitely.
Can you talk about that?
There's a good side. There's definitely a good side to it, just having a mutual respect. So I feel like here there is a lot of kids who lack a lot of respect for just like older people in general, whether it's parents or teachers or whatever. Especially in school, I feel like there is a lot of kids who lack that respect. So it would be good if they did have some, but I also feel like some people take it to another level. That's not even like a respect thing now. It's kind of like the dictating thing. So yeah, I feel like there is like
in African culture. Yeah. Okay, that's a good point. Yeah, and how about like communal relations, like in Cameroonian culture versus American culture? Are Cameroonian people as individualistic as Americans?
I would say Cameroonians, I feel like it's more of like let me just say it like this. if you go to like a place where there is a lot of Cameroonians, you will always see them find each other and always have things to like bring everybody together. Because I feel like just in Cameroon, just growing up places, it's always been like a community thing. Like it's always like, it's not like, I feel like, I don't know how to explain it. It's not like here, it's like, for example, like, you know, like if you have like cousins and stuff, you come visit them sometimes. Like, would you ever permanently like live with your cousins? Like, it's just like no.
Right.
But like my
common.
dad, he lived with my uncle and my other cousin. Just like he grew up with them. Was it because his mom was absent? No. But it was just because that's just how like stuff is there, and like they call each other. Like I found out like when I was like younger, I thought my dad and my uncles were actual like brothers. They are, but you know it's not like same mom, same dad. But just the way they grew up and stuff, I always thought they are, because they literally like my dad. He was literally he's their brother basically, but it's like not like people like same mom, same dad. Like no,
that's interesting.
But it's just the way that we grew up. That's why I feel like everybody is so tight knit, because it's like as long as your family, there is no same mom, same dad. Like no, like come here and take you in. Everything. Like I feel like we brought that here too, because like during vacations with my mom's brother, we would go there every summer, 3 months, the whole summer. We would just basically be the kids. Like they're like my other mom, my dad. It's just stuff like that where it's just like, you know, it's just like a really communal.
So that's similar to, I think that's very similar to China in a sense, you know, even though it's in a totally different part of the world. It's interesting, you know, compared to American society where everything is kind of individualistic and also competitive, like everybody's like trying to compete. Do you feel like, okay, in Cameroonian culture it would be like modesty? Would that be important, or how does that work? Like
modesty is definitely important. I would say a lot of things that people do wear or do here wouldn't be accepted. They're like, even what I'm wearing now, like it's just showing with my stomach, they'll be like, why are you doing that? That's not good. You know?
Okay.
So I feel like there is definitely stuff, even like I feel like, and there is just like small stuff, like people say wearing red hair isn't good because that means that you're evil and you do this and you do that.
Oh, so there's superstitions as well.
A lot of superstitions, like wearing red at a funeral means that you're happy that the person died.
My wife, even though like, I mean, of course Serbia's pretty advanced and everything, but you know, there are different belief systems, and so there are like certain superstitions, and then my wife will be like, you know, she's superstitious about something, like don't talk about this at all. If you talk about it, then it'll ruin everything. And then I don't believe in that, so I'm like, but on the other hand, I try to respect it. So there's those different viewpoints.
Definitely, especially like with my grandma. Her coming to live with us recently, like whenever like she sees stuff, like, you know, like when people put little like things on the porches, and she's like, oh, like usually when they put that means that they're like doing like summoning something. Like just stuff like that. Like whenever I whistle, she's like, "Oh no, that's not good. Don't do that."
Oh, that's
interesting.
Like,
it's just like really, just like superstitious and stuff like that. But there is a lot of modesty there, especially with like women, which I feel like is just everywhere.
You talked about that. I think in our paper, like about patriarchal kind of viewpoints, and then I kind of also thought about that with like on my dad's side with the Italian American thing, and that's one criticism. I mean, I like the Italian American culture and everything, but the patriarchal part, I think that's also generational as well. So
I feel like a lot of these things are
generational. So what do you think? Like, why do you think that developed, that kind of patriarchal viewpoint? Do you think they developed because of a certain reason, or do you think that it was just kind of existed in traditional cultures?
I feel like it existed in all traditional cultures and everywhere, because in all traditional cultures, men have always been like the, you know, like caregivers or whatever, like the higher power within families. So I feel like, especially like, I feel like everywhere else, like you said, in Chinese culture and African culture, like they really implemented that, and they still haven't gotten to the point where they don't feel the need to, you know, do that. Like like move past that. And I feel like that's everywhere. Like that's
it's
also
here too,
and
right?
that's also here because you'll see. I feel like everybody has heard the statement, "Oh yeah, you're a woman. You're supposed to be in the kitchen." Just stuff like that. Like how you're supposed to wait, like serve your dad his plate of food. Like he's not supposed to get up. Just like things like that they enforce on us when we're really really young. Like I've had aunts tell me, oh, why do I know, like when I was 14, why do I not know how to cook like a full family meal yet? And I was just like, huh? Like whenever I was upstairs, let's say doing homework, they would always call me downstairs like, oh, why aren't you helping me cook? And I would just be confused because my parents, obviously, they're not perfect. I feel like they've done a pretty good job of not doing that, but they'll still have their moments where they also say that.
Oh, okay.
But it's just like, but I just feel like that is a generational thing, so that is something that's just like instilled in older generations. And
that's
even
true.
people now, that it's just like, that's something that like, I feel like something like my generation have started to like just cut off completely. But, yeah.
That's true. But do you think also on the other hand, like the ability to cook is also something that has kind of like been lost. I just want to say one thing, like I just think like my mother-in-law passed away. You know, she was living with us because Serbian people often live together with their the daughter and then the son-in-law and everything, and so, but she passed away from cancer, which was really sad. But I just like remember all the incredible meals that she made. And then the thing is, like, my wife, I don't expect her to do that, but because she is from Serbia and everything, like, she can cook Serbian food, but she can't cook it the way her mother could, you know. I mean, she just can't. So I remember those meals, you know. But I do agree, like, I think men should also learn how to cook as well. But I mean, it's like now it seems like nobody is learning to cook. What do you think about that?
I think cooking is definitely just an important skill, just like to live in general. I think like cooking culture food, also learning it is also really important because I feel like food is such a big part of culture that
That's a good point.
and I feel like just because I've eaten like so many cultural foods, it just has been really important to me because I feel like a part of Cameroon is just like in me because I know something. The food is a big thing, so I feel like that is really important. And even though I don't know how to cook like all the cultural foods, like I know like some little things like my sister, her favorite Cameroonian dish, she learned how to cook it. And and it tastes really good. Like she's practiced on it, that tastes like as good as my mom's, because she just loves that so much. And I feel like that's good. Always just a really important thing because food, everywhere in every culture, is always a really big thing.
It is. That is true.
And I feel like when I do come time, like obviously I can't really learn now because like I'm in college, I don't really have a kitchen and stuff.
Right.
When I do get to that point, I've always had the security. Yeah, I can always call my mom, my aunt, for them to give me like, how do you cook this exactly?
Oh, like family recipes.
Yeah, because
that's
obviously I know what goes into it, but how exactly do you do it to make it taste really good? And I feel like cooking is really, because I feel like a lot of African foods, there's a lot of things that you have to do like with your hands. You have to sift certain things because a lot of things come with like little grains and stuff, and there's a lot of people who don't do it right, and especially for like African foods, not all of them like go through like, you know, heat and stuff to like take out everything. So there is certain things that people cook that I don't eat, so I'm just like I only eat it if like my mom or aunt cooks it. Like foods like that I'm just like I'm not sure how they cooked it, and if they didn't cook it right, it would be weird. Yeah. So I feel like cooking and just food in general is definitely an important thing. But I feel like like you said, everybody needs to know how to cook. So I'll be fine if they'll just say, if I don't have any brothers, but if I did have a brother, if they'll just like tell us both like, oh, you guys need to learn how to cook, not because you're a woman, you need to know how to cook. I feel like that's what strays me away from it. Like I don't want to like succumb to what they think I should do because I'm a woman or this and that. Right. But yeah, it's definitely a skill that I feel like everybody needs to have. Yeah.
And and do you think like in sometimes it could be like a bonding experience too?
No, definitely.
Without, but of course there are the sexist assumptions there. And let me think of. I was thinking of. Let me try to think of some other questions. Like, do you? Let me see what I can think of. I'm kind of running out of questions. Can you think of some questions that you could ask yourself, or do you have some things that you would like to talk about?
I'll say this, like, for like more traditional things like weddings, like here, I'm not sure because I've never been to like a solely American wedding, but I don't know, do you guys just have like white weddings and then like something a little bit after, like an after party and before?
Yes. Yeah, it depends. It depends on the person and everything. Yeah, but sometimes the reception is really important. Yeah. Yeah, and then like I also had a Serbian wedding and an American wedding, but the American wedding really wasn't anything because we kind of just my wife and I got married, and then like the reception was a big thing that my dad held, and then there were lots of gifts and things like that, and but I think it depends because I think a lot of people are being creative with weddings here now, so there's all different ways of doing it, but I think like the Serbian wedding was like in the Orthodox church, and then afterwards the reception, and then like a party for like almost the whole night, starting in the afternoon, and a huge meal and tons of people and dancing all the time.
Which is really cool because I feel like it's every culture but American culture where you always have like a wedding before, like you said, you had a Serbian wedding, a white wedding. We usually have a traditional African wedding. So it's really just like, it depends like on the person. Like traditionally Cameroon, it'll just be like the close family. But like my sister, she's got married recently, but she invited other people just because she wanted to. So basically, both families would come in their like tribe. Each tribe has a print. Like the Gaba, each tribe has a print. And each family basically comes in that. And then it is like a fun thing because basically it's like the parents have to approve that, well, the woman's parents have to approve that the man is good enough for their daughter.
Oh,
so
okay.
What
That's
happens
interesting.
So what happens is the fiance or whatever that doesn't come until later. So basically it's like a game. So they'll bring a couple of girls out who are like same height, same weight, and cover them with like a sheet or a blanket so you can't see them. And then the parents of the woman will be like, okay, is this my daughter? And then the husband has to figure out, okay, is this her? Is this not her? And then just turn her around and look, and this will happen like 2 or 3 times.
And what happens if it doesn't work out?
Usually it's not like actually guessing. Like you could tell if it's her because people will start being like, oh, screaming and stuff. It's it's just more of like a fun game.
Fun game, okay.
But it is a tradition. Okay. So then this happened about like 2 or 3 times. But then when the wife finally comes out, you can tell people on their phones filming, recording, hyping it up a little, and then it's just like a game. Then like when he says, okay, this is my wife, then like the thing will come off. And then also another thing he has to do is he has to give the family money. So it's not like just money envelopes. It doesn't have to be law. It can just be like $1 or something, but just like show them like, yes, I'm serious about this. So that I feel like that is one of the traditions that I feel like not really. I don't know if not really other like cultures, but I feel like that is an African tradition that I really like.
Like a dowry. That's a kind of money that
That's in weddings. Because I feel like the first time I saw my sister's wedding, and it was just really cool because it was like my sister, and then I had to be the ones covered, and I couldn't see anything, so it was just really funny. And it was just like, especially if you have like, it's not a serious thing, it's like a really like laughable thing that they make jokes and all that stuff. So I feel like that is a really good wedding tradition that we have. And then then like after that, it's just like a regular kind of like probably what you had at your suburban wedding. Like it's just like people talking to them, just like a little thing, and then after the next day would be the white wedding.
Oh, okay.
And,
yeah, I mean, like in Serbia, I actually had to wear a crown on my head, and so that was interesting. And I kept on thinking that it was gonna fall off, And so it was in the Serbian church, and it was extremely hot, and I had all of this stuff on, and then I just remember having to like kiss everybody on the cheeks, like 3 times. Like I think it was like 100 people or something. This is definitely pre-COVID period, But in terms of like the tribes, like can you say anything about that? Like Because are there a lot of different tribes within Cameroon?
There's a lot of different tribes. I don't know if I can name all of them, but I know I'm from the Bamileke tribe. Mm-hmm. So that's where me and all my family's from. And I could show you a picture of the Bamileke print if I do have one. Let me just try to search it up online. But
maybe you can send one to me too.
Yes,
because
of
if
course.
we start like, once I start writing down the transcription, maybe you can give me something.
So this is the Bamileke print.
Oh, that's really beautiful.
Yes. So it's just like for like our outfits that we have, it's just like a full outfit of the Bamileke print, and that's what you wear at usually weddings, like traditional part. That's what you wear at funerals too. Oh, okay. So yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I wanted to talk to you about the funeral ceremonies in Cameroon. Are they like? Is it different than the funeral traditions here in the United States? Because I think like death sometimes in the United States is like it's such a heavy thing, and I think it comes from the Puritan tradition. Like you're not supposed to talk about death, and then when death does happen, if you do talk about it, it's supposed to be such a like sad and mournful thing, and so a lot of people don't know how to deal with it. But I do feel like we did cremation, for example, with my father. But I was wondering like what are the attitudes about death?
The attitudes about death, I feel like within the funeral, obviously, like when it happens, it is that it's like obviously you mourn for a bit, but like in the act of the funeral, it's more like a celebration type thing. And when the person just died, especially if it is like in like Cameroon, like I remember, it's kind of like I'm not used to it, so it was just kind of weird to me. I remember when my dad's mother died, and she was in Cameroon, and it wasn't even like they immediately like put her like not a casket but something that closed and like carried them on her shoulders, like all her kids and stuff, and it was just kind of like a singing, like a hymn, while they were just like carrying her to like the gravesite or wherever. I'm not sure exactly where they put her before the funeral. But it was just like, and my dad was just looking through the phone, and I feel like that's like not normal here. Like a lot of people just like wouldn't do that, but that's just like
you don't definitely.
My dad was just seeing everything through like the phone because obviously he was here. So they were just carrying on his shoulders, singing the hymns. And another thing, during the funerals, for more of this celebration part, obviously like after the people speak and after we mourn, the immediate family will sit in the middle of the room with a picture of the deceased, and then we will circle around them like do like a traditional song, and it's basically be like a celebration and stuff, and then people will like fan money on them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just so I think it's just more like a just like a celebration because they're like going to God.
Right.
Yeah, but it's not like I say the immediate family. It is sad because like that's when you feel like it's real, because like a lot of that will happen. I had a lot of funerals that I went to recently, like that's from the start of the school year.
Oh, you did.
And it was really hard for me because I saw my uncle and my aunt just sitting on the chair just crying while everybody was doing this, because I feel like that is the moment where it's like, this is real. And
yes, I think it's so hard. Yeah. And I think especially when a parent dies or something, I think that's extremely difficult. Like when a grandparent dies and you're younger, depending on the person and how close you were to the person, but I think like it's like part of the natural cycle of life. But when you get older and then your parents, one of your parents dies, then it's extremely difficult because it's like it's hard to let go, but on the other hand, like it is part of life. And I just also remember that like carrying my grandmother, the casket and putting it into the ground with my little brother. But I think that was really sad. And then like my father not showing emotion, which I think was a typical male thing. But then he was cremated, and we had part of his ashes and things like that. Does cremation happen in Africa as well, or no?
No, not really. It's just more so just like a regular burial into the ground. Something else that does happen I know whenever somebody has died here, we always send them back to Cameroon to get actually buried.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know any of my family that's actually buried here. We will have funerals here, but at the end of the day, like I said, my parents are always traveling back to Cameroon for funerals.
Oh, so they would send the body back?
Send the body back.
Oh my gosh.
And that is something that happens around, because I know my dad runs a non-profit business, because this does happen a lot for people who do die here, and he like raises the money to send their bodies back, because that is a really like hefty cost, because sending a dead body back to the like it can't really be like in the airplane around people, so there is a hefty cost.
Of course.
Yeah, so that is something I would say for every Cameroonian I've met, that has always been a thing. And I feel like another thing, you go to the immediate family's house or the deceased house, and people come visit like the immediate family that's there, or like the mom, the dad, the siblings, or whatever, and people will probably come visit for like a week. And it's just like a kind of like mourning stage. Like people talk to them, but it's just more like a sitting there. The picture will probably be up with some candles. And
that's very similar to Chinese culture. That part actually is like in the village where I was living. That would be the case. We would often, whenever we saw like a picture of an older person, then we knew that somebody older died. You know, and then there would be all the people out mourning. And so that was really interesting. Let me think. Are there any other issues you would like to address?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No. Okay. Well, really, thanks a lot.
Of course.
Yeah, this was an excellent interview, and I really enjoyed it.
Of course, I enjoyed it too.